My first panelist is going to be Billy McMullen, UVA NFL alumnus. Give a round of applause. Wali Rainier of UVA and also NFL alumnus. Coach Ashley Banks, head coach actually of Varina High School. Marcus Lewis, head football coach at Varina High School. And Keytwan, Heath, founder of 804 Sports Association. What's up, everyone? What's going on? How you doing?
You're all these fellas.
Huh? Well, I'm sorry, Chris, my bad. I got a picture. Chris Gorres, co-owner of Onyx. My bad, Chris. Look, I skipped right over you, man. I'm sorry. Look, I gotta go get some eyeglasses now. Look, we're gonna get right into this. I thank y'all for coming, man. And like I said, some of you guys I know personally, and some of you guys I don't. Actually, the other one I don't know is Billy. I know we haven't met formally. I should say that. But everybody else I know. So I thank y'all for coming, and we're gonna get right to these questions. Actually, I'm gonna start with Chris, and then we're just gonna go on down. So I'm gonna ask each one of you questions. And we got to 11 o'clock, so probably gonna stay that a little bit longer since we go on that. The first question for you, Chris, and the panel. Why do you think injury prevention has historically received less attention than performance or recovery in schools and youth sports?
I think it's just misunderstood what performance and injury prevention are, because they're really the same thing, right? So like when people think about getting stronger and getting faster as a means of being able to perform well. But if you're building a ship from scratch, the first thing that you need to build is a boat that won't sink, right? So like if we're trying to build an athlete that's stronger and faster, the first thing that we have to do is build an athlete that is more resilient and more functional. So when people look at speed as a functional performance thing, I look at speed as an injury prevention thing, because if you're overstriding, if you don't have what it takes to run and keep up with the speed of the game, now you're actually at an injury risk. So somebody had mentioned earlier about like some of the Amazon Web Services and being able to track a player's speed on the field. Yeah, like you need to be able to run a certain speed at a certain position to be able to keep up with the game, because if you're not, now you're at an injury risk. Or if you need to be able to run, let's say a 4.6 to run and keep up with the game. Okay, well if you're a 4.5 guy, running a 4.6 is almost maximum effort for you. But if you're a 4.3 guy, running a 4.6 I can sustain that throughout the game. So like speed actually becomes an injury prevention thing, right? So I think it's just been misunderstood. And it's not sexy. People think about prevention, or they think about like, I'm gonna do something that's gonna prevent an injury. Well, kids think that they're invincible anyway, right? It's not until like something actually happens. So it's just an education thing of letting them know like, hey, that these are actually how to get faster. And then along the way to getting you faster, here are some things that are gonna help like address some of these issues.
Okay. Coach Lewis?
I just think it's just being educated on it. I think in the high school level, we just understaffed. With us at Varina, I mean, I got all these guys on my phone. So for us, we're taking it serious. I done had 3 surgeries myself playing sports, 2 knee surgeries and Achilles. So that's the first thing we talk about at our high school, meeting with our parents. They got Dr. O number, they got Chris, they got Lance, and our kids, hey, go. And then we just pay attention to their movements at practice. I mean, I know my kids just how they stand now. You know what I mean? So we see anything, they see our doctor, but I'm sending them to them quick as possible, because for us, you know, we trying to play 15 games, and it's a brutal season on the teams that we're playing. So we need our guys healthy. So until they say, hey, they could come back, they ain't coming back, or whatever they say goes. I don't even try to get into. I ain't go to school for that.
Yeah, that's you did that last year.
Yeah, so
Your players stayed out.
yeah, our first 3 games we had 3-4 starters that didn't play, and we found a way to win. But it was due to these guys came back healthy, and we was able to play 15 games. So I just kind of leave it up to the professionals when they come to that, and I just educate my parents on, hey, they need to go get seen by these guys as soon as possible.
Keytwan?
Yeah, for me, same thing what Marcus said. I think the education of it has just been like a lost cause. You don't when you be around these programs, you don't hear injury prevention. Like you don't hear that type of talk when you're around these type of programs. So I think the education piece has been lost, but medicine in general has changed. Mm-hmm. The physics of it, the science of it. Like, I tell people all the time when I be around Chris, he talked science. You know what I'm saying? So
Chris be breaking it down.
yeah, he talked science. So I had to understand like everything evolves. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it, me personally.
Wali?
I'm gonna use this mic. I usually don't, but I'm horsing coaching. When we talk about injury prevention, I remember years back speaking with Dr. O. We call that preventative care. And preventative care, first thing is, to apply what all 3 of these men have said, but know thyself. So when it comes to people in general or young athletes, that's where a lot of coaches don't give that. Mm-hmm. To know thyself, meaning from a physical, mental, spiritual standpoint, so you understand what is going on with your body. Keytwan talked about your science. Everything in life is math and science. So it's nothing new up under the sun. And so to know thyself is knowing what you're doing that is causing this hurt. And of course, like I said, you got Dr. O and you have, Dr. Bennett. I send my son to them, immediately. But the good part about it, and I love getting with them because that preventative part and that first part is knowing thyself. So as athletes and as coaches, we are obligated for these young men to understand their self first, right? The game is the game. But regardless of what we talk about up here and what the PTs are talking about, knowing thyself, everything in life is math and science. And once you understand that, that's knowing thyself. And that's what needs to be taught right out the gate, if you can teach that.
Coach Banks?
A lot of great stuff from fellas up here. I'm going to go at it at a different aspect. I would say build a relationship. At Varina, we try to make sure that we stress and we put people in places so that they can build that relationship. Dr. O has been great. So making sure you establish, things such as this. I think the young lady said it earlier. Let's go ahead to the rec leagues. Let's be proactive. Let's have transparent conversations. So that way, by the time they come to us at high school, they already know what a routine looks like. Making sure that we are having those tough conversations when things don't look right. But it's back to that relationship piece. You establish a relationship piece, you're going to already identify before it even comes your way. And just education. With me coming to Varina, having that kinesiology background and things like that, is helping me now because I didn't think it would help me while I was in school. And now that I'm coaching, girls basketball and newly coaching girls flag football at Varina, just making sure I recognize who's in the room, paying attention to who's in the room, making myself appealing so that I'm approachable. So that way, hey, we need to talk. What do I need to do so that my kids can come see you when they're in 8th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade? So, I would just say, let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to Varina Rec, Glenlee. Let's start there so that way we don't have to wait till an injury happen in order to prevent it. Thank you.
Hey, Billy.
So first off, I want to give a hats off to Dr. O for building this community. I see faces that I played ball with in high school, college.
Went to high school.
Went to high school with coaches that are coaching my kids now. I mean, Dr. O, you're doing a heck of a job building this community. And then injecting the community with the right education. And then that's what we're talking about up here. in terms of injury prevention. So I think the biggest thing is, like I just said, is the community, like us having these conversations and being able to have some real conversations about what's really going on and stop, gaslighting these kids, like, and the parents gaslighting the parents, like, hey man, just keep putting your son out there. Nah, we didn't talk like that, man. Come on, let's be real. We're not doing that. So we really want to be able to build this, interject the community with education. That's what we're doing now. And another thing is, like, in this social media world is what's cool, right? And if it ain't cool, the kids don't want to do it, and the parents think you need to do it. And so, do we find a way, and this is a question I'm asking y'all, you don't have to answer right now, do we find a way to make it cool? I think we do, right? Because cool becomes fun and it's not work.
Yeah.
And one of the great things that's happened now, some of the better players or greater players that has ever played a game, NBA, i.e. LeBron, he's really keen on injury prevention. He's posting that. He's not lifting in the gym, lifting heavy weights all the time. He's doing band work. He's doing balance work. When I was coming out the league, that's basically what we started doing. But when I was in, we were doing a lot of power cleans, a lot of two-legged exercises, and had nothing to do with injury prevention. So first of all, being in a tight-knit community like we are here in Richmond, and outside of Richmond, and then being able to have these real conversations, educational pieces where, like, look, man, it's cool to be able to not lift 335,000 pounds, being able to balance on one foot and move a man. And so, and having core strength. But I think that's the real key thing is for us to have this conversation, find a way to make it cool to your people, your kids, and parents lead the way. So don't be just telling them they do it, you do it too.
That's right. That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
Crispy, coming back to you, man. What does a culture of prevention look like at the community level? And who's responsible for building that?
What does a culture of prevention look like? So I think this also ties back to the first question, right? Like, why is injury prevention not as cool as performance training? Because saving money ain't as cool as spending money. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that the two most important things that we can teach our community, if we're going to talk about community, like for a kid to learn financial literacy and physical literacy are the two most important things that they can learn.
Absolutely.
Right? Financial literacy so that they have money to spend, and like physical literacy so they can live a healthy lifestyle. Right? And injury prevention is just like having money in the bank account. Right? So, like, if I have money in the bank account and I pop a tire, I need to go get my car fixed, I'm good. If I don't have any money in that bank account and I pop a tire, now I'm like, crap, what am I gonna do? Who am I gonna call to give me a ride? What am I gonna do to get to work? All that other stuff. So when we talk about financial literacy and physical literacy, I think those things can kind of go hand in hand. When we talk about preventative care, it's not just, me and Dr. O talk all the time, it's not just physical, it's everything, it's holistic, right? We gotta make that a thing in our community where we're like, hey, these are the things that are going to get you far. And then, like, when those things happen, because adversity is going to come, that's the only thing that's guaranteed in life, right?
Absolutely.
When it comes, are we ready for that? Are we prepared for that? Or is our literal bank account empty? Or is our physical bank account empty and we don't have anything left to give? So I think it's an important message. And who's in charge of that? All of us. I think Dr. Hill said it earlier, like, we got to get out of our own ways. I give Coach Lewis and Coach Wali, I give them a lot of credit because I still see a lot of high school football coaches that are like, no, we got this, I got this, we'll take care of it. Like, we know what we're doing. Okay, right? Like, no, I understand that you might have somebody on staff, but again, you've got one person and it's impossible for one person, because I've tried to be that one person. It's impossible for one person to train 60, 70, 80 kids at the same time and build a relationship and build trust and do all those things, right? So for us to be able to step out our own way and not just talk about it, but be about it, like what Billy said, right? Being in a room like this and collaborating with each other and saying, hey, like, I would love to collaborate with your business. I would like to refer people to you. I don't have all the answers. Our kids are looking at that. Our kids are looking at that and saying, oh, Pops doesn't have all the answers. Coach doesn't have all the answers. And he actually goes to his friends and he asks for help. Holy crap. I'm not going to cuss right now because you can't. But, like, teaching our kids how to ask for help with these things, like, that's another thing that I think our community can help with.
Good job.
I had to come behind him.
I was about to say,
Look, man. Man, I can switch this thing up.
stay after that.
It really is not But what I would speak on is bridging the gap in the community, touching these rec programs. And I got some ideas now. We sit right here talking about it. We do a free youth camp. We have over 100-some kids. I have the parents sit. We talk about the importance of the community. So I think, when we do that personally, we're going to make sure that y'all guys can come out and speak to these parents. One, they're playing too much football now, or playing any sport too much. And I think, to me, that's one of the things so it can help prevent injuries. I just went out to Glover Park yesterday, and I hate, I'm talking about it, but, it is what it is. These kids got 3 football games back to back. They played
4 years
They
old.
played yesterday, they played today, and they played tomorrow. And this is not going to help them get in college. It's actually going to hurt them in their bodies. So I think having these conversations with these parents, because to me, if it's my child, I will focus on track and then maybe football, depending on what career path they're in, as far as, how good they are. But I think us coming and letting these parents know, like, hey, they don't need to be traveling and playing all these games. There should be a limit or a max on what they're doing and how much they're playing, to where now they need to be getting with y'all guys to work on, enhancing their abilities, you know what I mean? So I think from that standpoint, we gotta definitely get more to our community, educating these parents, and I got some ideas, and I know we can do it, especially what we got going on.
Let's get it.
Good job.
Pretty much what these two gentlemen said, we gotta bridge the gap in the community. That's where it's gonna start at. We have to get the right settings. We have to get the right people out there to educate the parents. Because like you said, well, we actually been saying it for years now. These kids, especially on the football side, or even basketball side, they playing all year round. So when do your body have time to rest and recover?
That's right.
What does that time look like? So we need to start there. Like I was saying earlier, especially on the football side, we talking about these kids are playing the whole entire year. Imagine when they become 13, 14, and 15, and they had non-stop contact. You know what I mean? So what the long-term effect of that look like? So we have to just get out in the community, man, and keep building. One thing I can say, I'm very proud of the community and the guys. This year, it started back a couple of years ago when I started football camps. Now, all the guys that I train that's at that level, now they're giving back and pouring back in the community. So I'm proud of that. Like, we had like 5 or 6 free football camps over this summer. You know what I mean? So, and then we just had a past football camp where I wanted to do it a little bit different. I wanted to bring in speakers to talk about mental health, talk about the body, learning the body, like just not putting cones down and getting these kids to run around cones for 2 hours. So let's bring other people in to educate you on the longer run, the bigger picture, which is mental health, learning how to treat your body, just a long game. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be short, but unity is power, right? And I pretty much just spoke to all these men here. Good to meet you, but unity is power. That's right. But we talk about that, right? One for your brother that you want for yourself. And that's what the community is, right? And being able to have these hard conversations, we talked about, kids playing too much football. I got to tell some trainers like, look, man, these kids are not going to go. They're not going to do this because they're overusing the same muscles and stuff all the time, right? So these hard conversations, because everybody want to put things on Instagram, but really being intentional about the youth and the people in the community, not so much about myself and the ego of putting something on social media, this is what I'm doing, but really protecting the youth. And so with that unity and one for your brother, what you want for yourself, that all the young men are up under our care. And that we are intentional about developing them from a holistic standpoint, not just from an athletic standpoint. And that goes across all boards. And so the more of us that can do that, the better the community is, the better the young people will be, the stronger they will be, the more understanding they will have. And we deal with, sometimes the parents don't have that understanding. So you have to raise the parents as well. Right. And so the more of us that are seeds that do that and show that union, the stronger the community is. That's it.
I would say, listen, I'm feeling like I'm in church. I would just say back to the basics. I'm a Jane Atkins girl, and it's just certain things that we did with her that we didn't understand, and it helped me not get injured. You know, she waited real late for us to play AAU. You know, I wasn't a fan of AAU until I recently started coaching with AAU. But it's just buy-in. You know, we're up here talking about all these different things. All right, what are we gonna do to put these things in action?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know, what does your next week or what's your calendar gonna look like so that way we can ensure these things doesn't happen? Sustaining partnerships. It's very imperative that we have all these, you know, PT come to our practice. You know, show us the correct way. You know, you could be a great player but not a good coach. You know, things like that. So just having those tough conversations and follow through. Make sure you follow up with everything we up here saying. Make sure you do your part and we do our part. I just think this is really great that we're doing it because everyone looks like everyone. You know, having a recognizable face, you know, where you can say, hey, let me call you. You may be a little bit more educated in this. And then recognizing what's your role. You know, where do you fall in at? You know, I can't do what Marcus do because my program ain't like Marcus. Yeah, we have Varina, but, you know, understanding your role and pursuing it and just making sure that you have people to hold you up, you know, where you're weak at, things that you may not be educated about. Like I said, back to the basics. Thank you.
Good job.
So when I look at the question, and I know you guys see my phone up here, I'm looking at questions, but I'm also taking notes. Even though I talk to these guys a lot, I'm still always learning. So that's number one in terms of education, just always being willing and being humble enough to know that you don't know everything. But I look at this question and I see culture. And normally in a culture, you have somebody who's setting it off. I know we all come up later, who's gonna set it off, right? Who's gonna bust that wedge, right? That's the guy that sets the culture, right? In football, like who's gonna bust that wedge? He's the culture setter. So, you know, we don't have to all be the guy that sets it off, but we do have those who have that type of energy and that type of education, that know-how, and that type of heart to go against the norm, to say, hey, we're gonna do things a little different here, you know what I mean? And case in point, so I was running a group of receivers for a while, virtually. And I was trying to tell their parents the reason why we're doing this is for two reasons. I said, y'all out on the field all day long doing cone drills, running routes.
That's right.
I said in football, basketball, it doesn't matter. Pro sports, college sports, we in the film room. We live in the film room. That's all we do is film. So I'm telling the parents, like, look, put them in my group so we can look at film. They got to be able to watch themselves and learn from others. And it was such a tough sale because all they thought about is that 40, all they thought about is that vertical, all they thought about is that go route. And I was really pushing that culture, and I'm like, look, we got to do this. But over time, the guys that I had in there, the parents I had in there, they still talk about it. Like, hey, coach, remember we were talking about that cover 2 or that cover 3? I saw it last week versus such and such. I'm like, exactly, bro. I said, you can have an edge over the rest of these players if you start studying film now.
That's right. Yeah.
So my point is, like, who's going to be the person in terms of injury prevention that's really making it cool, but also setting it all to the youth in your circle, in your sphere.
That's right.
And then you match it with us, then we have a whole big community.
I have a question. How do you all integrate the mental health of the students when they are injured or they have a tough time or something like that? I played sports my whole life, so currently working with E12 back there, but with the mental health of the students now, especially with social media, what Billy was touching on, that's a huge thing. So how do you all deal with the student mental? I know you're not mental health professionals, but community-wise, know that self, like that sparked the question. So how do you all integrate the mental health with that?
I would say that we just make them feel belong. Like I had a young lady to get injured, and my mission was to never make her feel unwanted as if she wasn't part of the team. Everything that I required everybody to do, she was a part of it. I made sure of that. And then just making her aware of her layout. You know, let's educate us as women. You know, it's certain things that we're not built to do. You know, and so understanding your anatomy. But having someone in the room is important, and then making sure that you can tap into them like, hey, I need you to see this kid. So I may use Marcus. Hey, if you see my child, she just got injured, just give her some little nuggets. She kind of down, give her some nuggets. Never forget about her. Hey, this coach is thinking about you. Hey, we had a tough game. What you saw? Identifying that inner leader. Hey, we was running this. It wasn't working. What you think? Hey, drop a play for me. So taking that initiative, hey, watching that film, but also creating those learners.
I can say really pouring into the young people from the beginning that you're greater than a sport. Mm-hmm. Once you recognize that you understand the physical form, what is above, so is below. So going back to knowing thyself and knowing that you're greater than the physical form, that you can do all things, that's just one part of it. You in itself begin to heal whatever, or help to heal, along with the PT, that everything happened for a reason. Maybe I was doing too much of this. Maybe my mind was off, not talking to my family or this. I gotta refocus, recalibrate as a young athlete, and having that understanding that, okay, maybe it could be worse. And start cultivating yourself, taking that time to cultivate yourself as a young athlete, the more appreciation for your family, yourself, and the game itself. That's the approach that I definitely take. When we talk about mental health, it always goes back to thyself.
I'll say this real fast to piggyback on what Wali just said, and this may not be popular once again, but sometimes it's the best thing that can happen to an athlete. Yeah. Prayerfully, it's not a longevity thing where they can't play no more, but like all of us look like we played some type of sport in here at some period. Getting hurt, you question a lot of things, right? You like question your belonging, you question your purpose, you question a lot of that stuff. So as a young athlete to go through that early and then have that ability to start understanding that, like Wally said, you're bigger than the sport, you're bigger than what's going on, is a real solid foundation that'll catapult that young athlete into college, into the pros, or even to that next career. So in life, and being able to create their own community. So that mental health part and or before that injury is really actually part of the process. You gonna get hurt, man. You playing a sport, you gonna get hurt, and you got to be able to, as us, how we pour into them, like, man, your identity is not football, basketball, soccer. This is something you are good at, and it's a part of the journey.
And depression is real, right? Yeah. I speak on that from a standpoint of, I went to UVA, graduated architect, did all the right things, but you are what you do, right? And playing 8 years in the NFL, I broke my ankle, snapped it, put like 17 screws in it, and even preparing for life after football, I was already doing that. Had businesses set up, doing great things. But in hindsight, you are what you do, right? Just like a soldier, if you train 17 hours out the day, you can be whatever you say you are, but you're that soldier. And coming from a humbling background and being, going to the NFL, but running the same, that trajectory of an architect, educational standpoint as well as physical. But once the game was away, right? You go through a certain phase. It's just how hard you fall, regardless that's NFL or young athlete. So it's imperative that men and women, regardless of titles, being able to tap into the spiritual form of young people, right? Because you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall. That's the part of life. But being there, how far do you fall? Some guys fall and they don't come back, right? And so it's big that the community, that we have this, that if people fall, especially young people, that they have that crutch. They have that crutch. I mean, I bring my own kids from, Dr. Bennett, understanding to put them around the right people that is bigger than the game, and that your body is a balance of something else.
For me, my approach is, Wally can probably attest to this because he do a lot of training on the side too. I really spend a lot of time with these kids now because, let's face it, training on the off season is the thing for any sport. Like, that's what they're doing. They are trying to elevate, get to that level. So what I've learned is with my athletes, because you never know what an athlete is going through, whether it's at home, whether it's at school, wherever that place may be. So I had to learn, for me, first is to listen. That's where I had to start. And even as a father, you know, when my son was going through things and having other kids, other parents, children with me, I had to be able to listen, and that was one of the main things. And we had, it's just beneficial when you can get a kid in a setting and be able to listen to him and be able to express some of the things to him to help him deal with whatever the situation that may be. And I'm fortunate to have friends that are mental health therapists, so I can say, hey, do you feel comfortable with speaking to this person? Because he's the professional. But first I have to start by listening to them and elaborating with them. So that's how I deal with it. It's a topic that definitely needs more attention on.
Yes.
You know, especially after speaking with my friends that are mental health therapists. People are walking around every day and don't even know they're dealing with mental health issues. Don't have a clue. Don't even have a clue. Us as grown men, you know, we've been affected from when we was kids, you know, and we don't even really realize that. And so I had to learn from the brothers that I'm around. So, like I said, it's just a team thing, and that's my intake on it.
And so I am a QMHP. I own a mental health company as well. We have other QMHPs on our staff that's coaches. And I always tell my coaches, we ain't coaches, we counselors at the end of the day. So we have a different approach. We network with a lot of other companies for services I can't provide personally. I have a therapist that's a close friend of mine that I actually coach as well. So he also, you know, service a lot of our kids. Also what we do is I try to break my team up into groups by your position. And we in group chats where I need you to get to know your player outside of being a student athlete.
That's very smart.
Also our parents. You know, I had the other day, one of the kids, he don't really speak much, got all the opportunity in the world. I had to call his mom like, hey, you know, what's some things I can do to bring out the best in him? So not only trying to get to know that kid, I need to know the family dynamics. So everything that I'm pointing to my own family, I'm telling my coaches that we need to do that with our own players and family. Some other things that we're doing at Varina this Friday, we're having a family cookout. To where, hey, outside of just being, you know, football, hey, let's get together. Let's break bread. You know, anything you want to do, you comfortable with telling me outside of football, we here for you. I spend more time with them than I do my own family. We touch on that. We believe in prayer. We pray every day now. That's one thing that I wanted to make sure that we start doing. We could start going to church at least one Sunday out the month. Our kids understand that it's bigger than football, and they can come to us for anything. I was a part of a group where we used to do, it's called the Men Walk. Every Sunday out the month, we were just talking about mental health. It's kids and adults. And we about to start that back up because I learned so much more about our kids, and they were just giving me stuff that I had no idea. And I'm like, you at practice, now I understand why you can't focus. I understand why it's some anger behind what you're doing. And once we figure that out, I mean, this kid just excelled. So we're doing that. I'm encouraging my parents that, hey, I need your kid here. I encourage the dads that's involved, I need you here. So that way we can just become one. And once you do that, I mean, it's definitely helpful because everybody ain't going to school for football. So I'm an entrepreneur too. So we're part of them entering our program. What do you want to be outside of playing sports? So that way, hey, are we working towards that every day? I'm big on financial literacy and investing. I have different companies coming to speak to our kids. So we're trying to provide those type of opportunities because I didn't have that coming out of high school or even college. So now that I see the things that I learned throughout my life, I'm trying to pour into them now to understand, hey, what's your end goal at the end of the day? And then with these student athletes that's going to college now getting paid, we got to learn how to invest now. We got to learn the importance of saving. We got to understand, hey, how we set up and structure a LLC or S corporation based on different things on how much money that you're bringing in. Also, the families we deal with, a lot of them, you know, these kids going into college making more money than their parents. So hey, we got to give our parents a certain percentage, not all,
Yeah.
because it's taxes and other things that's involved, but the importance of life insurance and different things like that, to where I'm just having professionals come and speaking to our kids about that now. Whether they make it to the league or not, if they learn those things, they will be successful in life at the end of the day.
So the mental health question is very deep, and as you said, I'm not a mental health professional like Marcus is, but I can speak to you as somebody that comes to you with a perspective of being a former athlete, being a parent of athletes, and being somebody that's been in the business of youth sports by accident. I was like, we didn't start our company to get into youth sports, but we're in there now. So I've, like many on this panel, have had the blessing of being able to work with kids and their families, and I get to see their family dynamics, and I get to see the way that they communicate and the way that they miscommunicate, right? As Marcus alluded to earlier, youth sports is no longer about youth development, it's about economic development. We are sitting in a room, in a building that has been built as a part of an economic development plan by the government that runs this county. Look around you. There's a hotel being built right there, a hotel being built right there. You understand what I'm saying?
Clock it.
So listen, kids are not stupid. They understand that. Kids know that their parents are paying $10,000 to be a part of this volleyball club, and then they pay $40 to get the entry pass to watch them play every weekend, and then $20 for parking. You see what I'm saying? So now these kids are like, shit, sorry, Doctor.
You cooking, man?
So now
The passion, baby.
these kids are like, I gotta perform because my parents are spending all this money. If I don't perform, are my parents even gonna love me? Are they gonna appreciate me? So when we get kids, and I say this because I had a conversation with a player that I used to coach or work with, and she was on the U.S. women's national team since she was a teenager. And when she retired, she was one of the most well-decorated gold medalist, World Cup champion, and she was like, when I retire, are my parents even going to talk to me? Because for the last 15 years of my career, every single conversation with my parents has just been about soccer. What am I going to do?
That's deep, though.
Right? And like, if she's feeling that, imagine what our kids are feeling when it's not on purpose, but our kids hear from us, how was practice? How was football? What are we going to do? Right? So they think that's all we care about, and that's not. So I've done as much as I can as a parent to, one, make sure that my kids don't bleed from my wounds. So I make sure that I'm checking in on them, like, hey, how you doing? Like, I don't care. Like, I love you because you're my son. I don't love you because you can catch a slant. You know what I mean? So when we get our kids and they're coming in, unfortunately because of an injury, now we get to talk about kind of what the opposites are, right? So we're talking about mental health, whether it's depression or addiction. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. So now we're giving them a community that they can belong to and that they connect to, they can plug into whenever they need to. The other thing that we do is the opposite of anxiety isn't stability. The opposite of anxiety is gratitude. What are the things that we can be grateful for right now? What are the things that we can control right now? And I would argue that part of my education as somebody who went to a very competitive high school and then an Ivy League school, one of the most competitive universities that you can be at, part of my education and not just my academics was like learning, how do I say this and not get in trouble? Like learning the things that you can't learn in a classroom.
That's right.
Right? And the biggest thing that you can learn is, right, like, how do you manage stress? How do you manage your frustration and your anger? And how do you go back to the things that you can control? And I would argue that physical literacy is the only thing in this world that the kids can have a challenge that is completely customized to them. Every test that they take in school is a test that was designed for the entire class, not just for them. Every time that they step onto the field, that's a game that's being mandated and regulated for the entire team and the entire sport, not just for them. When we're in a personal training session, I can find a lunge or a squat or a push-up or whatever that's just for them. And then I can say, hey, these are the things that we can control. Let's control the things that we can control. Leave all the rest to God. He'll take care of that. So that's my role in mental health. I know, again, I'm not a mental health professional, but like those are the things that we have to realize, the world that our kids are in, and then how do we get them out of that and just say, hey, forget all that. Let's just focus on the things that we can control. right? And so a squat isn't just a squat anymore.
I'm gonna go to the last two questions. I know we may be short on time, but this has been good. I don't even want to stop this, but I wish I could ask all four, but we're gonna stick to the two most important ones at the end. So if we have time, we'll come back to that. Chris, what would it look like if we invested in prevention the way we invest in combines, showcases, and performance metrics? You cooking right now, man. So come back to you.
So I think that's naturally going to happen anyway. With the way that the college sports landscape is changing, that's going to happen because there's going to be less scholarships to be given out, and then this promise of we can get your kid a D1 scholarship, that's going away, and parents are going to be realizing that, like, why am I investing all this money? You can't promise me this anymore, right? But I think that if we invested in prevention, if we invested in actual youth development, what we would get is a lot more kids who are chasing fulfillment and not success.
Yes, ma'am.
We're getting kids who are chasing validation and not attention, right? Because what we see right now is kids who are seeking attention because they think that that's what's going to make them fulfilled, right? They think, I got an offer from this school, but it's not that big of a school. I need a bigger offer, right? So we've replaced competitive sports with comparative sports. And all we're doing is seeing families compare themselves to every other family that's out there, right? So now all of a sudden, that offer that came from a great school, that's a small D1 school, isn't good enough. And we've stolen that joy of that moment from that kid and that family being able to celebrate that because it wasn't Alabama. Right? You just got an offer from a school in North Carolina where you can go to school for free and get a free education and better yourself, and that's not good enough for you because your friend got an offer from Penn State.
Yep.
Clock it.
You know what I'm saying?
Clock.
So, like, we've got to, if we did invest in prevention, if we did invest in youth development in a community where kids feel like they belong, we would find a lot more fulfillment and less of the attention seeking.
Good luck with that, Marcus. Marcus, you skip over.
I owe you.
It's all good.
I owe you.
Yeah.
I got cold up in this thing now. I was like, whoa, cooking with ice.
Boy, you was
Wow.
cooking.
I mean, he really touched on it all. I mean, I can give y'all some examples on what he just said. We had several. Every year I have maybe a couple of student athletes that think about transferring just because of that statement he just said.
Don't pay it, Marcus.
I ain't get enough. I ain't get a big offer. I ain't get this. I ain't get this or that. And one thing I promised my parents and my kids was I don't never promise no Division I scholarship, but I promise you I can get you into a school, and more than likely it's gonna be free. And at the end of the day, can't nobody take education away. So that's what we promote. It's funny. I mean, every year, y'all. I mean, it is ridiculous. On everybody think they supposed to get an Alabama, Ohio, this and that, but you turn it down. Private school offers, Yale, and different stuff like that, to where it's going to take you further than any sport will ever take you. So we're trying to educate and empower our kids and their families on the importance of a free education and taking advantage of that. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Keith, listen, man.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time. I'm around it. I mean, to me, honestly, it's just gonna get worse, you know, because social media runs everything.
Yep.
Social media, I mean, we all victims. I go on there, I click on there, I see.
We see it all.
You know, yeah, because that's my field. So I'm looking to educate myself, but what do I see? What are these young kids seeing that haven't matured enough yet to read between the lines?
Yes.
You know, I have to have these tough conversations with athletes all the time. You looking at his offer, but 2 years from now, his offer is not even going to be committable.
Right.
It's not even committable.
That part right there.
You know what I mean? So,
They still don't know, man.
yeah, that's what a school's supposed to do. But I've seen kids post all these offers, and when they become a senior, when it's time for them to commit, half of the schools not even taking their commit.
Not even.
So it's social media, you know what I mean, that we have to deal with. But we have to, how do we fix it? It's going to be people like this in the room to be around the kids that we're around, to keep educating them and keep trying to help them mentally, prepare and move on from that. And I have to have them conversations all the time, even though I'm not a coach, but I spend a lot of time with kids at every level.
Don't sell yourself short, because you've been off on a whole bunch of jobs with some of these people up here. They want you as a coach, so that's why I'm right there. So you could be a coach.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're doing a great job out here, man.
Yes, sir.
I
appreciate it, man. I appreciate
I'm gonna be quick, but everything prevention is the development of self, right? Cultivating self. You talk about the young people. That's one thing. I'm over at a private school over there, but my whole life been dedicated coming from a humbling background in developing myself and cultivating myself so I can help others, right? In doing so with young people, when they able to cultivate and develop themselves, we always say it has to be in you, not on you. So then NIL, how much money you're making, all of this, with the young men that I gratefully work with, it means nothing to them. Because the one thing that really means something to them is the internal self and spirit and how they're doing in life. So to do that with young people, outside of the athletic standpoint, this is how we raise functional, successful members of society. I think that's the biggest picture when we talk about preventative from all aspects. Whether we're talking from a medical term, having understanding, and the true self, having understanding of the true self, and then all outside things become dormant. They come and they go, but the main thing that you have is yourself.
Good job.
Yeah. It's different. I was excited to work at Varina High School, and Marcus, he's like family. So I use his program as a platform, only because the girls' side is not as strong as the boys. So a lot of people get their lick backs with us on the girls' side. But what I do pay attention to is his connection piece and the things that he do. So the things that I'm doing to try to reestablish my program is I want to give them a sense of belonging. All right. I want them to feel competent. I want them to be feeling useful, but ideally I want them to grow into what they can and should become in life. So Chris, I'm with you there, only because what does life look like as a young woman? I want to say all of my girls graduated in the top 10 at Varina High School. Yeah, scholarships are great, but for girls and how we built, you got to be something really special to get that D1. True story, I had my first Division I experience and, was at Hofstra. And I just could not understand why my 6'7" wasn't getting the same type attention, because Hofstra's up north. At this time I was at a school in North Carolina, and so, I just made a really big deal out of it. But those conversations that you're having when you're talking to a Division I program is really different than the other ones. They're very hands off, but the coach made me feel like I belong, made me feel like Michaela belonged. But that's what kind of secured the deal. Okay, yes, Michaela can play for you guys, but what type of woman is Michaela gonna grow up to become? So that's ideally what I try to, focus in on at the 5, helping you be a better you for this community. Are you gonna come back and give back? I played at Varina, but what else did I do outside of the rim? Hey, did I adopt the highway on Route 5? Did I do things for my community and things like that? So we're trying a different approach, just because we're not where we need to be as far as girls athletic, but we're on the rise.
That's sure. We're gonna get you there.
Hey, I just want to say, Ashley, you're a traitor.
No, it was Jane Atkins all day. It was her.
She acted like she was went to Varina. She went to Rego.
I did. I did.
You over here rubbing hard now.
I did. No, But true story, it was Jean Atkins.
I know.
I'm serious. It was her. It was him.
But if we invest in injury prevention like we do combines and things like that, I think what we create for the kids is for injury prevention. From how I see it so far, you can't rush the process. You got to slow down and really learn what this individual needs. So it gets back to that sense what Ashley's talking about, that sense of belonging. Like, yo, you're just not a number. We really got to slow it down for you to see how your left foot plants outside of your right foot plant. You know, we got to figure out what side of your body operates better than the other side of your body, because we're trying to prevent you from getting hurt later on. So, and it allows the kid to really feel and understand that this is a process. We're not rushing to get you stronger. We're not rushing to get you faster. We're not rushing to get you scholarships, man. We want you to be whole so you can withstand the season, withstand your 4 years, and withstand college. So it allows that athlete, the student athlete, to say, you know what, this is a cool part of the process. This is a good part of the process, and I'll have a stronger foundation moving forward. So in a sense, if we're investing in that part, then we're gonna have stronger athletes, mentally, spiritually, and physically.
Good job. Yes, sir. That was good. Everybody, good job. Last question. I'm gonna give everybody at least 1 minute each so we can move on to the next demonstration. How can school systems and athletics associations work together to make prevention non-negotiable in programming? And actually, I'm gonna stop with Billy. I'm gonna go back to you, Billy.
The first thing I thought about was legislation, making it law. I mean, what else you gonna do, right? You leave it up to the school, or you leave it up to the individual coaches. You know, it's probably not gonna get done if the coaches are not educated, if the community is not educated on it. But if you find a way to make it a standard or a law, I mean, you're gonna eventually have to follow it, or your kids can't play. Now that may sound dramatic, but at the end of the day, you know, that's sometimes when we do things, when we force to do things. And if you set a standard, like if you get a group of us that are played on a high level, and we say, all right, here's the bullet points that each association or each school needs to hit, because we've lived it, then it's not like you're forcing something that doesn't work. We're actually telling you, like, this is how we did, this is what happens. And of course, you add guys like Dr. O and those professionals, but finding a way to make it the standard, the law, that's the only way I could think of off the top of my head.
I would say VHSL, you know, have them to set the requirements a little different. You know, when I came here to Virginia, slightly different in North Carolina, because we had a coaching clinic that we had to go to every year where people got in a room like this. You had college coaches come back, NFL, you know, WNBA, speakers, everyone in one room. And that was very beneficial for me as a new coach coming in, because that set the foundation. Here in Virginia, we don't have that unless I don't know about it. But just putting it back on them, hey, what are the requirements to coach? Right. You know, what does that look like? Well, you know, what are the things that you need to do VHSL or on the network so that you are tangible, you are in the framework of what we're trying to do. You know, I really do think it's very imperative that we do go and that we do get this word out so people can understand how important this is. It's not just helping my program, it's helping everyone's program. It's going to make everybody be the best they can be. So I just think being transparent with that and being very intentional with our actions on moving forward. You know, what does this look like? What marketing scheme are we going to use? Are we going to use TikTok? Are we going to use IG? Are we going to use our college coaches? You know, what does that look like, and making sure we are following through. That's it for me.
I'm gonna be quick, but preventative doesn't make money. So I applaud Dr. O and his staff, Dr. Bennett, all of these guys. You know, when we look at, and I don't like the big C word, right? In society, preventative doesn't make money, right? And so it takes the people in the community, instead of being up here and Doc actually pushing this narrative. So we can say, you know, try to make it a law, this, that, and other, regardless of what you look at, whether it's food, whether it's, you know, the big C word, all this other stuff, preventative doesn't make money. So it really takes the people to be able to stand up inside of the community to go out and do this work. There's no way going around it. We'll be fighting an uphill battle till we all 300 years old to try to go to legislature and do all that. And I understand what Billy is talking about, but understanding the whole big elephant in the room, preventative doesn't make money. And so good people, right? That's why you guys are here now, to be able to help young athletes and help people in general outside of playing sports understand preventative care, right? Because going on to, from a legislative standpoint, this, that, and other, it doesn't make money, so then it's not gonna stick. So the people do the work.
Good job. Answer.
I'm
Extend you up, man.
No, it's all good. I mean, I think it's just getting the community involved, getting the rec programs involved, and making that a requirement through the rec league. Right now, we've been trying to work on a partnership to just, have all the rec coaches come to us, and we can talk about coaching, we can talk about the importance of stretching, importance of getting with Dr. O and guys like Chris and them to understand, like, hey, we're looking for the future, not right now, to prevent a lot of stuff. So I think if we start right there, because rec programs, I mean, in the East End alone, it may be 20, and it ain't even that big in the East End. So I think touching the community from the rec level will be the best thing.
Yeah, I think for me, like, to see something like this where businesses from all over are coming together, where you see coaches from quote unquote rival teams coming together, and they say, hey, like, this is bigger than sports, this is bigger than our business, and for our athletes to know that we care about you more than we care about our company, or we care about you more than I care about winning these first 4 games, right? Like, that speaks in and of itself. So community events like this, where we can do simple movement screens, where we can do simple things and say, hey, this is the information, educate them on what that information needs and why it's important, and then let them make informed decisions. Because I think if we can help them make informed decisions, then we're gonna see the results from that.
Great job, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and go over to our next demonstration. So give everybody a